Welcome to the Court of Bookish Queens, a podcast where mother, daughter, and intruder dive headfirst into the world of romantasy, sharing our unfiltered thoughts, bold opinions, and theories so wild they might need legal representation.
I'm Juliet. I'm the daughter, romantasy addict, and CEO of Falling for Fictional Men.
I'm Helen, the mother, trained legal counsel, romantasy lover, and fully here for the drama.
And I'm Melissa, the intruder, uninvited romantasy novice, but oh, do I have opinions. So, listeners, adjust your crowns and remember, in this court, chaos isn't just welcome, it's the dress code. So, with that, court is now in session. Hello, and thank you for joining us on today's episode where we will be covering chapters 17 through 27 in A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Before we dive into the episode, please listen carefully to our content warning. Before we dive into the episode, please listen carefully to our content warning. While we will be focusing our discussion on chapters 17 through 27 in ACOMAF, we are going to be bringing in themes, foreshadowing, and lore from across the series. So yes, these episodes are spoiler central for the whole of the ACOTAR series. However, these deep dives do not include spoilers for the rest of Sarah J Maas' series, except at the end of some episodes, which we'll make sure to give you a big spoiler warning beforehand. So, if you haven't read the entirety of the Maasverse, feel free to leave the episode once we give our spoiler warning, or stick around to listen for more Crescent City and Throne of Glass callouts. Last thing before we jump into the episode, if you're loving being part of the court, if you're enjoying these deep dives, then please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, listen to us on Spotify, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Or why not all of them? With that, let's get into it.
So, our main topics for today are Feyre and Rhys visiting the Bone Carver in search of answers. Feyre faces the Weaver. Feyre and the Batboys travel to the mortal realm. And they all stay with Nesta and Elain, who agree to send Feyre's letter to the human queens. And while training in the mortal realm, Feyre is attacked by the Adder. Those are our topics for today. So Feyre and Rhys visit the Bone Carver. They are hoping to learn how to defeat the King of Hybern, and the Bone Carver wants truths in exchange for information. Later, Rhys sends Feyre to the Weaver's cottage alone to retrieve his mother's ring, but she doesn't know what she's looking for. Feyre and Rhys, when they go to the prison, but return because Feyre can't stomach going in. Then in the next chapter, Amren gives her those amulets to ensure that Feyre is able to make it out of the prison. What does this say about Amren's character?
I love this. I love it because Amren is not human and everybody's afraid of her, but she understands humanity and she understands, or I should say, Fae, right? She understands them. And what she does is kind of a trick. It gives Feyre the confidence to go. So, and then I love the fact that apparently Rhys has given it to Amren. So he's kind of confused. And the whole time he's looking at it with a confused look on his face, trying to figure out what the heck this is and why. I thought it was really cute.
Okay, so the Weaver. What are our thoughts on that whole scene situation?
Well, I stick to my story from the first time I read it. I thought, Reese, what the heck are you doing? This girl has not been trained, and you're sending her into the Weaver's cottage now?
I totally see what you're saying. And I think when I first read it, I was also like, what is going on? Like, what is he thinking? But now in the reread, I was starting to think how we know that Rhys and all the Illyrians are basically thrown like practically at birth into like the sparring ring, and they're like taught to fend for themselves, feed themselves, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, and the parents, at least Rhys's mother, never turned back. She left him, didn't turn back, kept walking. So I'm thinking that maybe this is how Rhys feels is the only way to train someone or to let someone realize their true abilities by letting them survive, basically.
That's a good theory. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. I still don't like it, but it makes sense. I don't like it because no matter what my mother may have done to me, I'm not going to do that to somebody who I love.
But maybe he doesn't see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, he
Yeah, that
doesn't.
was my point, that he doesn't see it as a bad thing. Yeah, he sees it as a good thing.
Yeah.
There's a big risk of losing her, but I really think that knowing Reese, he would have stepped in at the very last second if he knew it was about to be all over and Feyre would lose her life. I really do think that, but that's dealing with what ifs, and I don't like to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit strange to me that he would put her in that position,
Mhm.
because he's so protective of her. So that's strange, but then it is kind of self-serving in a way because he wanted to see if she was the worthy one to get the ring, and that would be his wife. So it just shows that Reese's agenda is the most important agenda in town.
That's interesting that you think that, because my understanding of having Feyre to go fetch this ring is to see if she has this tracking ability so that she is able to go and track this book that is supposed to the book of breathings that is supposed to completely negate the cauldron's power, which means it'll negate the king of Hybern's power, which means there won't be war. So to me, it's not Reese's agenda or that's self-serving, it's that he doesn't want war to break out, which I don't see how that's.
I think it can have a dual purpose. And I think in this case, it probably does. It's for that book of breathings. And also, like, she had to fetch the ring. Like, it's very convenient that it was the ring as well. So I think there is some duality in this one.
And I kept thinking that this does show how different Reese and Tamlin are. I can't see Tamlin in 1,000 years having done that. So
No.
he's definitely more protective, where Reese trusts in Feyre's abilities, which I wouldn't, but I see that there's that huge difference.
Okay. Yes, Reese is definitely in a hurry with the impending war and all that. But okay, if we can move on to Feyre, she returns to the mortal realm, but this time it's with Reese, Cassian, and Azriel. She reunites with Elain and Nesta. The visit is tense, and Feyre learns that Elain is engaged, and Reese helps Feyre write the letter to the human queens. So the only thing that I want to talk about personally is that night where they decide to stay overnight when Feyre and Reese have to share a room. Actually, there's two things I want to say. Because there's that whole one bed trope where like, oh no, there's only one bed, we have to like sleep in the same bed. This was about to be that, but Reese freaking snaps his fingers and then another bed appears. And it's so annoying, but whatever. Okay. And then the other thing is like when they have to share the room, they end up talking about how much Nesta and Cassian butt heads, and Feyre jokes that Nesta would win in a fight if the two were to fight, and Reese agrees.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I wanted to know what you guys thought about
I mean, obviously, Nesta, even as a human, is a very strong-willed character, and she will meet up toe to toe with whoever is presented in front of her. And her and Cassian already have this kind of like spark, which I think a lot of their bickering is kind of how they have fallen in love. So yeah, like he recognized that and had met his match.
And then, Juliet, I remember you looking up the name Cassian and
it. Oh my.
it meaning something. I thought that was really
I was
cute,
just.
actually.
Wait, do you not remember what Cassian means?
It means
No.
empty vessel, right?
Something like empty, or it comes from Cassius. Like that's what Cassian comes from. And Cassius apparently means in Latin or something, it means empty or hollow. And I was
Okay.
like, no, what? 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 How is that
It
cute?
kind of well, you remember when Puya was here on the one of our episodes previously, and Puya said Cassian is like a bro. He's there isn't too much going on over here. He's just acting and reacting to things, and it suits his personality. We're also talking about Cassian and Azriel, Cassian being the sun and Azriel being the moon, where Cassian is just like kind of cheerful and happy and playful and all of that, where Azriel is cold and very solid. So it just makes sense. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, right now that you said that, it sparked like a thought in me, like empty vessel. Yeah, like that doesn't really sound cute when you first read it or anything. But if you relate it to Nesta, she is so much, and you could say she's overflowing, and maybe Cassian is the vessel that contains her and is her safe place. So
like almost tempers her.
I love that. That's perfect.
Okay. So, while we're still in the mortal realms, we can talk about how Feyre trains to control her new powers. And she actually asks Rhys to leave her alone. And that's when the Adder ambushes her. And then Rhys and Asriel arrive just in time to stop it. Furious at Rhys for using her as bait, Feyre unleashes her anger and winnows for the first time. Rhys later admits that he suspected that someone would come after her for the first time she's alone, and he actually apologizes. So, do we have anything we want to talk about in that chapter?
There's one thing that you didn't mention, and that was that this is actually the first time they start sending notes to each other. And this is when they start to flirt. This is the place.
this is when they start to flirt. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Openly, yes, openly flirting with each other. Because up to now,
There's banter.
We have different opinions, but that's fine. Did we forget the licking of the face? Did we forget
It's not
the?
flirting.
I think
no,
that
that was weird. That was kind of
Yeah.
strange.
I think
That was not flirting. I do not
well,
consider that flirting.
I think that was his way.
To now, she's been, and I think this is actually one of the reasons why she chose not to fly with Reese, because she doesn't want to be that close. She's already feeling stuff and she doesn't want to encourage that. So, in herself, maybe, but you know. But
What?
here, the flirting, to me, the flirting starts.
Some self-constraint. What is it? Self-restraint from Feyre for once. It's like, oh no, I'll have another male fly me across, but it's not like I've left the spring court, gone to your court, and now I'm living with you under the same roof and everything. And haven't they shared a bed at this point? It's like,
No,
oh,
Not
but
yet.
they were about
No,
to or something.
no,
not yet. But
Oh, okay.
no.
Well, one of them. Like, give me a break.
you're actually right. The reason that she chose not to fly with him is because it's too close. And there's literally a line where she's pinned him down in the snow and she goes, I didn't realize how much bigger he is than me. Our bodies were too flush, too close. And then she talks about how warm his body is, even though there's snow
Oh
around.
my god, it makes me gag. Okay, something I will say that when you said this, the only thing that came to mind was when you were saying, "Oh, you know how Reese's mother kind of just threw him in and had him fight it out and never looked back." I think this is more of that. That's my only thoughts. Like, I think this is just more of that. So
You
I can see that being very valid here.
you mean like using her as bait or
Yes.
mhm. Okay, so maybe this is the time we can do our big spoiler warning for every other SJM series, Throne of Glass and Crescent City. So,
Okay.
warning.
Okay.
Be warned.
Warning, warning, warning. Melissa is hijacking this section because listeners, court, open your ears and rolling back the tape and going to our latest ACOMAF's episode, so the one right before this, and listening to a part of it because there was a section where I asked a very pointed question, right? We were discussing Feyre, right? Going to the night courts and then coming back to the spring courts.
So basically what we discussed was Feyre was alone in the Moonstone Palace and wanted to not be alone, and Rhys said he has matters to attend to. So she said, please take me. And he said, well, I can take you, but you have to promise to not tell anyone anything about what you see, what you hear, who you meet. And Feyre agrees. She promises that she won't. And Melissa felt that that was a betrayal of trust to Tamlin. And I disagreed.
But then the theoretical question was that if Feyre were to go back to the spring court eventually, right? And Tamlin were to ask her, hey, like what happened in the night court? What did you see? Both Juliet and Helen said Feyre was in her right to say, sorry, no, I can't discuss that. I've made a promise. Right, ladies?
Yeah.
Yes. And I said that wouldn't fly with any man. So Over the weekend, I dialed up our trusty old producer, Ring Ring, who happens to be my cousin, who happens to be Juliet's husband. And we asked him point blank, because in the episode, we did ask Juliet whether she thought Ethan would be okay with this, who could not be with us last episode. And her answer was 100%. So ring, ring goes me. And I'm like, Ethan, what do you think about this? And Ethan goes, that's not cool with me. Mic drop. Thank you very much.
And I was just shocked. I was surprised.
Juliet was shocked. So what do you think about that, Helen?
Maybe it just depends on the guy.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up a Throne of Glass call out. When Feyre escapes the Weaver, she does something and then the Weaver's blood spews everywhere and it's black blood. She describes it as being black blood. So does that mean that the Weaver is Valg? And does that then maybe mean that the Bone Carver is as well? Because aren't they siblings?
And also that one that's in the library is also their sibling, right?
Is it?
That's right.
The
Yes.
Axis? The one that Cassian is scared of.
Yeah. So we've discussed it all. We've laid it all on the table. And here it is, listeners. Let us know your thoughts. Comment below. And with that, court is now adjourned.